What's going on, good people? Welcome back to the channel. I hope all of y'all are doing well out there. I just wrapped going to Cine Gear. It was a 2-day event. It was a really nice expo, and it was in Los Angeles at Universal Studios. I got to be essentially on a movie set, I think. Kind of looked like Westworld to me, but really cool little event they had going on. It was very similar to NAB, only more for the filmmaking industry. NAB is more towards broadcasting, but this is more towards cinema and film. But it was very similar in the sense that brands were here. They had a whole bunch of gear showings. They had demos. I think they had a book signing with Roger Deakins. That was really cool. And then of course, other creators were here as well. And so just going to Cine Gear, just checking it out, it was a really good spectacle, much like NAB. It's a much smaller scale than NAB, I will say, but it was really cool. You know, I had a good time just seeing everything, seeing all the really cool gear, all the new technology that's going on out there, and then really just connecting with brands, connecting with some of the vendors, and just meeting other content creators as well. Just using the XM5 as a cine rig was actually really fun to do, just because I had never done it before. You saw I had used it for street photography, used it for vlogging, but using it as a dedicated cinema rig was really nice, just because I didn't have to want for battery life. I think the lowest my small rig battery ever got to was like 63% over the past 2 days. Super easy just to use the top and side handles, and then also incorporating my little mini tripod for just being able to get high shots, lift the camera above my head, and really just have a good solid grip on the camera itself. And then also just being able to sit it down and just kind of film some B-roll of some of the cameras that I was able to hold and interact with. But overall, I really came to see the gear, mainly cameras I haven't been able to get my hands on the channel before, and so a few of them I got to see in person, in the flesh, and I have some opinions on them. First up is the Sony FX2. It's a pretty cool camera. You know, it looks pretty much like an FX3 aside from the tilting viewfinder, which looked really nice. I was able to check that out, look inside of it, and really get a sense of how I would personally use it. Now, me myself, I do have an A7 IV and I do have an A7C II, which is the sensor they say is in the FX2 body, which means I would be right at home, because honestly, my A7 IV does tend to overheat on me. I don't really bring it out of my office. It is my main A cam when I'm in the office. Getting a camera that doesn't overheat, that could be quite useful for me, and so I might be in the market for an FX2. But the image quality looked great. You know, I'm not really caught up in the whole spec game, and so, you know, it might be something worthwhile for me. Now, secondly was the Fujifilm X-Half, and that camera is tiny. I saw it next to the Fuji XM5, and you can really get a sense for just how small it is. Width-wise, it's about the same as the XM5. It's really much smaller when you look at its thickness and height, and it's a pretty cool little camera. It felt kind of light to me. It felt much lighter than the XM5. XM5 has a pretty good weight to it. The X-Half does not. And I will say, I don't think it's a camera for me, but just looking at the demo, it's really cool some of the things that you can do with it, with that dedicated film mode, the secondary screen so you can kind of get the little canister view of your film stocks, and then also the diptych mode. The diptych mode having multiple frames per shot, regardless of if it's photo and photo or photo and video. I'm not sure if you can do video and video, but it was pretty cool. The rep actually demoed it for me, and not only did he show me how you can do it on the camera, but he also showed me some of the things he posted on Instagram using that mode, having multiple frames, being able to see photo and video. He even created like a little slideshow. It gets me in the mindset of, you know, if enough people get their hands on these X-Half cameras, I think Instagram feeds are going to start looking a little bit different, looking a little bit more creative as far as seeing like picture-in-picture, picture-in-video, or if too many people get their hands on it, you could start seeing more of the same things where everything in your feed is just seeing those two frames side by side, but yet to be seen. I think people will get pretty creative with it. So the Fuji X-Half was a pretty cool little camera. Now, speaking of small cameras, I also did get to check out the Canon R50V and the Powershot V1, which are cool little cameras. They're probably the equivalent of the XM5, maybe not quite. They're kind of the equivalent for Canon. So if you're a Canon shooter and you want a small little camera to be able to take around, get photos, get videos, those would probably be your best bet. The R50V is the detachable lens version, and the Powershot V1 is the fixed lens version with the pretty high quality zoom on there. But they seem like pretty cool cameras, and I enjoyed playing around with with. Lastly is a camera I had been meaning to really get my hands on for a while, and that is the Sigma BF. Now, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it is a beautiful camera, and quite honestly, the grip was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. You know, it does have that single aluminum body, but on the front of it is like super textured, and there's like a little thumb grip for you to hold on to it. So I didn't really have any problems holding on to the camera as I was playing around with the menus and stuff. And speaking of menus, I really like the user interface of the Sigma BF, and it was pretty easy to navigate. They had a little secondary screen just for your high level settings, and then as you got more granular, you can dive in and kind of dial things in that way. And so I thought just using the Sigma BF was pretty fun. I'm still not sure if it's for me just because the IO ports are lacking. It doesn't really have a hot shoe, cold shoe for you to put a mic in, and even if you did have something where you can kind of attach it to, that one USB-C port, it's not really a multi-purpose port from what I've seen so far, so I'm not sure how useful that would be for me as someone who's more of a hybrid shooter. But it was still cool to get my hands on all these cameras and really just check them out and kind of form my own opinions on my own. And that's what I encourage y'all to do. If you can, check out cameras for yourself. Maybe go to your local camera store, maybe rent them, check them out, shoot with them, see if you like them, and yeah, really form your own opinions on the cameras that you see us YouTubers talking about, you know? But with that said, that's all I got to say. You know, Cine Gear was a fun time. I really enjoyed myself, and I will definitely do it again next year since it's kind of in my backyard in Los Angeles with me being in San Diego. But with that said, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the notification bell to stay informed on any future content. And until next time, y'all, I will catch y'all later.